La La Land. I said in my review for Moonlight that 2016 was a pretty great year for movies, despite being a pretty shitty year otherwise. La La Land is emphatic proof of the former, while being admittedly a little elevated by the latter. When it opened in mid-December, it arrived at just the right time to allow audiences the catharsis of unwinding with a bright, colorful, relatively lighthearted yet consequential musical to round out what some thought was a pretty rough year. But that only gets you so far. What's more cathartic is that the movie's great. It begins with a now famous, gorgeous opening dance number, where the rhythms of the various car horns and car radios in an LA traffic jam melt together into a staccato piano. 3 shots are spliced together into one impressive long take, which I thought was actually one shot until I read otherwise, with the camera climbing over the cars and medians as much as the dozens of dancers. It's actually remarkable throughout the entire movie how much the choreographer and the cinematographer had to gel. Director Damien Chazelle said that he used the long takes in the dance numbers in order to turn up the realism as much as he could, hoping to minimize the divide between a bygone style and a modern audience. At a Q&A that I was lucky enough to attend, Chazelle specifically used the metaphor of boiling a frog to prod musical-averse audiences to buy in that if you do it gradually enough, they won't notice that it's happening. If the end result is the fantastic opening dance number, and a 6-minute unbroken take in a Singin' in the Rain inspired sequence in front of a colorful magic hour sky, then I will be first in line to be boiled. One of the drivers stuck in the opening traffic jam is Mia, played by Emma Stone, living the cliched because it's true life of a struggling actress. Her chosen day job, just until her big break of course, is barista, but on the Warner Brothers lot, getting as close as she can to her old Hollywood dreams. In the car behind Mia is Sebastian, played by Ryan Gosling, a broke jazz pianist degrading himself playing jingle bells for disinterested restaurant goers to make ends meet. Seb, as he's called, honking at Mia is the first of 3 chance encounters that leads to their romance, culminating in the utterly charming magic hour dance sequence mentioned earlier. These repeated chance encounters show that, among the film's observations about the parallels between love and art, chance is as crucial to the success of either as much as compromise or the choices we make. Both leads have artistic aspirations, to star in films and to open a jazz club. And both are struggling to get there, but the movie is a romance first and foremost. Both characters eventually find varied levels of success in their respective arts, both with their fair share of compromise, but the success comes suddenly for the most part. It doesn't feel like the movie is building to whether or not they'll make it as artists, i.e. that's not really what the movie's about. Instead, it builds to how their art can coexist with their relationship. If Chazelle's last movie, Whiplash, was about sacrifice for greatness, then La La Land is about compromise. What compromises Mia and Seb are willing to make in their relationship for their art, and what compromises they're willing to make in their art for their relationship. This emphasis on the choices that we make for our dreams and for our relationships sets the stage for one of the most incredible endings I've ever seen in a romance movie. While it's certainly refreshing to see Ryan Gosling in something that's more or less the exact opposite of mumblecore and the minimalistic style where he's cut his teeth, Emma Stone is the star of the show. It's technically dual protagonists, but she's the more active protagonist. And when the movie focuses on the individuals as opposed to the couple, her solo story gets more screen time. And honestly, she's marvelous. So heartbreaking and sincere in her auditions, it makes us sympathize with her even more when no one gives her a second look. While Stone and Gosling are both passable dancers, it's clear they aren't professionals, but that kind of adds to the realism. And the frog's water slowly gets hotter. Even if you don't think you like musicals, I've said less than flattering things over the years, at the very least, you have to appreciate the craft and the infectious tone. Not only is it beautifully shot throughout, it's bright, colorful, bubbly, but still meaningful. None of the camp, but all of the earnest sincerity. The dialogue is great, whether the leads are flirting, or discussing their respective passions, or having a blowout fight about their relationship. As you probably expect, they eventually both have to make difficult choices about their art and about their relationship. But crucially, neither choice is obviously right or obviously wrong. And in their blowout fight, neither Mia nor Seb is obviously right or obviously wrong. They're both just doing their best, and their actions and points of view are entirely defensible. Hey look, nuance! While Gosling and Stone are both great, and their characters are interesting enough, they're really the only two characters in the movie. John Legend appears as an old friend of Seb's, offering a high-paying, high-profile gig in a band that plays jazz-infused pop music and calls it jazz, but his sole purpose for existence is just to offer Seb the opportunity to sell out. Mia has roommates that disappear after 5 minutes. She has parents that appear but don't speak. You get the idea. The story is really just two people. But that's enough. On the strength of its two leads and on its undeniable charm, La La Land is a delight. Escapism, to be sure, but one of the very best versions of escapism. On that note, before I close, let's get some perspective. Yes, La La Land tied the record for most Golden Globe wins. Not that the Golden Globes mean anything. They're voted on by a random assortment of 90 international critics. And it tied the record for the most Oscar nominations with 14. Before you assume that that implies La La Land is among some of the best movies ever made, keep in mind a couple of things. One, we had a movie get 13 nominations, one fewer than La La Land, within the last 10 years. Anybody want to try to defend Benjamin Button as one of the best movies ever made? It wasn't even the best movie of that year. And as much as I absolutely loved La La Land, it's not the best movie of the year. And I'm not even really sure if it's better than Damien Chazelle's last movie. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that too much hype can lead to disappointment. And award season success can be attributed to a great number of factors outside of pure quality. Some people may hear that and assume that I'm talking about the well-known fact that the Academy loves movies about Hollywood, but just my guess, I think in this case it might have more to do with the bright, relatively lighthearted escapism. Yeah, Hollywood loves Hollywood, but given the critical response and the box office numbers, clearly La La Land's success goes beyond Hollywood just patting itself on the back. That being said, I totally get why people who work in the movies would adore La La Land. On a very personal note, while I don't work in the movies, I'd like to someday. And so, in some sense, I'm not far off from where Mia is in the movie. And parts of La La Land hit really, really close to home, thanks to the stupid dreams I'm currently chasing.
Maybe I'm not good enough.
Yes, you are.
Maybe I'm not.
But I think that's really the heart of La La Land's appeal. Dreams and aspirations, Hollywood, jazz, or otherwise, are universal. And considering the movie is a literal ode to dreamers, it's a welcome dose of hopefulness.